Now, as furries, we all have our origin stories, like how we first found the fandom or our experience at our first convention. Some of our stories can really have a profound and interesting impact on us and those that hear it. So for this video, I'm going to tell you a story of how my college roommate found out that I was a furry. yeah, this is going to be interesting. Yeah. Now, to give you some context, I grew up in a small town, and when I mean small, I mean everyone in town knows your first and last name, who your parents are, and if you happen to get in trouble, which I was a saint, of course, everyone is going to know about it by the end of the day. So, growing up, I had little to no experience to furry, let alone the LGBTQ+ community. My only interaction or knowledge of anyone in those spaces was with a very nice older guy who identified as gay that worked as a waiter at some tiny restaurant in my hometown that my mom would take me to on occasion. So you could only imagine how my world expanded once I made it to college. Now, with the desire of warmer weather and the idea of greener pastures, I found myself attending a university in Jacksonville, Florida. Yup, I know, choices. You know, I could have stayed closer to home and almost ended up in New York, around Rochester, but I was like, nah, super cold weather and snow, I'm Gucci. So for those that attend college or university, you know that it can be intimidating leaving the sanctity of your own family home, thrusted into a new world and environment, and having to fend for yourself in practically everything. It really makes you miss those times you didn't have to do your own laundry and those home-cooked meals. On top of that, a lot of schools don't let you choose your roommate, meaning you are sharing a shoebox of a room with a complete stranger that you just met, with no privacy, hoping that you don't wake up in the middle of the night to a figure staring over you like some moment in a horror flick. Luckily for me, and I mean this, I hit the lottery when it came to my roommate. His name was Jeff, and he was a pretty chill dude who literally had the same major as me and loved practically every hobby that I did. I mean, anime check, video games check, card games check, the list goes on. You know, we became very fast friends and even faster best friends, and we did everything together and got into trouble together. We were such best friends, I would play pranks on him, like when Jeff was taking a shower one time, I walked in and started playing music from Daft Punk, challenging him to dance and wash up before the song finished. I'm never going to forget the look on that person's face because someone walked in on us, stared, watched us do it for a couple seconds, and then just backed away slowly in the other direction. Anyway, we ended up joining a fraternity on campus and moved into the fraternity dorms, which essentially is like 50 bros living in the same hall with communal bathrooms, little privacy, and a lot of activity. So to sum it up, hiding everything in a shoebox room with no dividers and a busy fraternity hall would be a feat, if not impossible. So fast forward to sophomore year. I started exploring more myself and found my ways somehow into the furry websites, which listed some people in the area that were in the fandom. Now, I have heard of furries to a very small degree via interviews and documentary shows, but that was about it. However, I knew I was drawn to furry in some way because I always found myself growing up liking anthropomorphic characters on TV shows and imagining what it'd be like to be one myself or in their universe. So the more I dived into learning about the fandom, the more my curiosity grew to eventually I told myself, I must check this out and see what the fandom is all about. So after reaching out to some furs in the local area and attending several events, which mostly were like a rotating mall location, I was hooked and felt a sense of belonging in the fandom. I created one of my very first personas and a year later attended my first con. So you can imagine down the rabbit hole I went. And after seeing some awesome fursuits running around, I needed to have one myself. So you guessed it, I researched some fursuit makers and got one soon after. So for those that know me, if there's something I'm really into, I'm gonna go into it full force, if you can't tell. Now, here is where the fun stuff starts to come in. I have a fursuit, and I have been on the DL hanging out with furry crew between college classes and my best friend and my college classmates. I tried my best not to be too MIA, but I realized that it was tricky, especially when you're living on top of one another on a college campus. So hiding the fursuit was the trickiest part. No lie, I raised my bed a bit and hid it under there in a plastic container, which I covered it in some like random crap so it wasn't visible. How I got away with it for a year having my fursuit was beyond me. Like, if I saw my roommate doing something like that, I would be hella curious and I would look underneath there and be kind of sus. So now I got a fursuit, I've been hanging with furs a lot and finally feeling like I'm coming into myself. But there is a couple problems. One, I have never told a single soul I was bi, let alone I was a fur, not even my family. I was personally scared because from what I've been exposed to growing up, the negative side of the internet, and being brought up in a Catholic home, I felt like I was going to be disowned or ridiculed by my family and friends. Secondly, my best friend was getting a bit upset with me because I was disappearing at times and not really saying where I was going or what I was doing. To be fair, I was being pretty sus from his perspective, and I can understand that. I used to make like bullshit lies, like going out to the Walmart to grab things and then never returning for hours. It got to the point after many nights rocking back and forth in my bed on the issue, like an insane straitjacketed person in an asylum room, I decided I needed to come out as bi and furry to my best friend. So, I set the stage. I made a candlelight dinner. I put some soft music to set the mood. I held his hand and I stared into his eyes, whispering my truth. Yeah, no. That is definitely not how it happened. I literally just waited for him to get back into the room and asked him to sit down as I teared up and was shaking as I blurted out what's been going on. I was clearly a mess, but now to be fair, this was the first time I was telling anyone, so the built-up feeling and general suppression was clearly playing a role here. So, the truth was out. I did it. I looked at my friend with watery eyes, waiting for the worst to come next. And my best friend looked at me. And then he got angry at me because he said, "Wait, that's it? I'm your best friend, so you're buying a fur. So what?" So I don't know if you all had to experience something like this, but you could imagine the look on my face. Dead ass, deer in headlights, blank stare. So after chatting a bit with my best friend Jeff, getting the nod of accepting me and my crazy ass, he got a crazy idea and said to me, "Hey, since Halloween is coming up this month, let's mess with our friends on campus." Okay, now, aside from his general quick acceptance, which got me a bit shocked, the idea of messing with my friends in my fursuit was an idea that I could not pass up. So low-key, this is why I love my best friend. Total savage. So, Halloween came, and Jeff joined me as I hopped in fursuit and made our way to our friend's dorms. Now, I'm not gonna lie, seeing this dark, large animal roving around the dead of night on campus would give anyone a twice over. So I'm like glad I didn't get shot with a tranquilizer or something, because I mean, let's be fair, it is Florida. So my wingman Jeff got our friends all lined up in their dorm room, and then I jumped down and surprised them, which was followed by the initial with, "Holy hell, what is that thing?" and shock and then confusion. However, funny enough, at the same time, they were quite curious of the fursuit, and then they proceeded to grab a bunch of pictures with me. So after that, things were great. I felt relieved to have my best friend always by my side and accepting me for me. Though he did have to have his own fun thereafter. Like, he would turn to me at random times during classes or in our room to get my attention, then proceed to make wolf sounds, scratching the back of my ear or patting my head. I'm like, bro, seriously? But you know what? It was pretty hilarious, not gonna lie. So much love there. And that's the story of my best friend finding out that I was a furry. Now, I would like to hear about your take on my experience, but more so, I would love to hear if any of you had similar stories and experiences like mine, good or bad. Also, don't forget to hit the like, follow, and subscribe, and help this doggo out. Again, thanks for watching. Stay awesome. Until next time.